Hello and welcome to the quick session covering how to deploy beSECURE on premise. As you know, beSECURE has two methods of deployment. One is on our AWS servers where it's an hosted solution and you and your company will receive a tenant which only you can use. And the other methods of solution is where you will receive a VM from us and you can apply it anywhere you want. So it could either be an AMI for using it on AWS. It could also be a VHD for Hyper-V or VMDK for KVMs, and of course, OVA for VMware Workstation and vSphere. Today, I've decided to deploy my machine on a VMware Workstation. So once I deployed my machine, I could have seen that the machine comes pre-configured, meaning I don't need to do any further setup. It comes already with a database attached and with the Apache service running and so on. Even the license is already applied. And so I just had to access the IP that the machine bind with on the HCP. If I wish not to use the HCP, then I could turn off the HCP and I could set up a static IP using the video that is already there on our customer service portal, in which I'm actually explaining how to set up IP on static IP. So we're gonna first log in using the default credentials where you can see them on your VM once you log in. You can see on the left side that it says not secure, meaning that I need to replace the certificate. Of course, when we provide you the machine, you need to apply your own SSL certificate. So that's going to be the first thing we're going to do. So we're going to click on server settings. Within settings, you can see some of the basic configurations. So you can change, for example, the URL. So instead of being an IP, you can change it to be beSecure.your domain, etc. You can change your default country based on wherever you're located, and even the language. We support English, French, Korean, Japanese, and so on, Chinese. We're gonna go into login security. Over here, we can apply a single sign-on using LDAP, LDAP-S, Active Directory Radius, and SAML-v2, for example. So we can apply the metadata for SAML-v2, or we can connect via Active Directory. Then we also apply Google Client ID, so you can sign in with your G Suite, and the ability to perform two-factor authentication using Google Authenticator or Microsoft Authenticator, where the user need to scan the barcode, and then he will receive message to his phone with the string of numbers before logging in. Of course, we can enforce SSL, and it's highly recommended. Then we're going to move further into the network settings, where we're going to apply another DNS server if we have, or if we want to change the IP and so on, we can do it from here. We're going to go into the IP APIs, where we can create API keys for users. So for example, for super admin, I've just created an API key if I wish to use the system using an API key. And the next thing would be the SSL certificate, where I'm going to apply the certificate and key file. It is important to know that the system accepts self-signed certificates, but it doesn't not accepting automatically certificates that are encrypted. If the certificate is encrypted, you would have to first decrypt it and then apply it. Then we move further into the maintenance. Over here, you would see the updates mechanism. So the information server receives updates from a server called ping.beyoncosecurity.com, and the LSSs, the scanners, receive updates from updates.beyoncosecurity.com. LSS receive like the scanning mechanism, how to perform the scan, while as the IS receive like how to decrypt the testing. So once the LSS scanned and found a new vulnerability, a new test, it will send that entry to the beSECURE IS. If the beSECURE IS is not receiving updates, then it would not be able to decrypt those entries, and it will not be able to understand the new tests that were recently added. So those will not show up on your report. You can either update directly using port 80, port 443, any protocol you wish. You can update via proxy, or you can even update it manually. Then we move into the backup and restore. You can back up by downloading, or by secure copy, or by using a file transfer protocol. So you can see how to set it up. Then move into the logs. Here you're gonna get the information whether the encryption key is applied or not. So in my case, the encryption key is not applied on ping, therefore I'm not receiving packages on new tests. So while as my LSS has the recent signature revision, I can still not utilize it for the testing. So it's a very simple process for us to fix. Just let us know the server ID, and then we can, our DevOps can check up what is the encryption key and apply it. You move into system security. Over here, you're going to set up the security profile. So when will the password expire? How many attempts a user has before lockout? And how many uppercases, lower cases, or special characters are needed, and so on. Then we move into the notification, where we're going to set up an SMTP server. So if we want to receive reports from the system, we will need to have an SMTP server configured, and that will help us receiving notification, alerts, reports, and so on. That's going to be one of the first things I'm actually doing on the system when I get it. The system comes with an automated ticketing system already installed internally, so we can either enable ticketing or disable, and we can even allow auto-generating of whole like high-risk vulnerabilities to generate them into a ticket. And so we can utilize the ticketing system for better remediation projects and better understanding of the remediation. Let's say that one doesn't want to use it internally, you can also connect to an external ticketing system by providing a URL, email, and subject over here. So you can enable automation using like your Jira server or your Freshdesk, your Zendesk, etc. And also you need to know that we have a lot of integrations with ticketing systems that are already pre-built by using APIs. So for example, Jira software we have over here. And we, of course, we have Freshdesk and Zendesk, as I mentioned earlier. So you can see Zendesk over here. That's a Zendesk integration. And we even have Topdesk and ServiceNow and so on. So once we set up the server side and we did all the settings configuration that needed, we need to set up an organization. The organization name will be the name of our company. So it's going to be called Joel Company in this case. I'm going to apply a logo. In order to do that, I'm going to go into my logo. First, I would see the predefined logos, and then I'm going to set up a new one. So in my case, I'm going to choose from my desktop, I should have a logo. Get the Tottenham Hotspur logo. So I'm going to click on create. I'm going to go back to the organization, apply the logo of my company, click on modify, and I'm going to start setting up subdivisions. So let's say that my company operates in New York, and I'm going to set up an organization for that company in New York. Then my company also operates in, let's say, in Boston. So I'm going to set up another division in Boston. And then let's say that within my New York and Boston divisions, I have even further way to, to render the data. So I want to receive even more granular information. For example, I have floor 1 and floor 2. So I'm going to put them under Boston. That's how I'm going to create actually like organization hierarchy. So I'm going to put floor 2 over here. Also, again, underneath Boston. Now, when I'm going to set up users, I can assign them to be associated with a specific type of organization. So let's say within Joel Company, I have 2 offices, and underneath Boston, I have 2 ways to divide the data. So let's say that I know floor 1 as my accounting and my marketing team, while as floor 2 as my R&D team. When I'm going to create dashboards and charts for floor 1 and floor 2, I will understand where I need to put more remediation focus, whether it's going to be on the R&D computers or on the accounting computers. Then I can go ahead and start setting up users and accounts and contacts, of course. The next parts will be more, up to you as a user. So you can set up new users for your engineers and so on. So let's say we set up a user for the guy named Rich, and we set up a password for him, and then we're going to assign him to a specific profile. So the system comes with 3 profiles: admin, which can see everything; reporting users, where they can see only the home screen and the results tab; and then the scanning user, where they can also create, scan, configure, create users, and so on. So we're going to set them up in New York. We're going to HR. So I've now created a new user. Now I can go ahead within permissions and start setting up what type of results this user can see. Let's say that this user is only responsible for the Boston office, so he can only be associated with the three organizations within Boston. Then he can send reports to contacts such as John, for example, and he can view the organization of Boston and flow 1, flow 2, and he can use the default scanner. So those are the permissions that this user has. And so that's a good way for me to divide my organization. So the guy from Boston won't see the issues going on in New York because there's no reason for that. He's not the IT manager in New York at all. And that's meaning that the system is attribute-based alongside being role-based access. So first we have the role-based access, which is the profiles. Then we have the attributes where I can actually decide what I want to show and to which user. That was a really quick session covering the beSECURE setup, and there will be some more on our customer service portal. In fact, there are some more over there already. If you have any question or any issues, please contact us at support@beyandsecurity.com or contact me personally or log into our customer portal and view some more videos such as this one and read our guides and FAQs. So thank you very much for listening and hope you have a great day wherever you are.